The following video is a recording of a training session that I conduct with brand new players who are getting into aerial combat in War Thunder. So if you are a brand new player yourself, or if you are a veteran who wants a teaching guide to teach other new players, then this video is for you. I will provide additional commentary via text on the screen to explain the reasoning behind certain decisions I have made in creating the following exercise. The primary purpose of this specific training exercise is to identify all the skills and mechanics that a new player needs to know and understand. We are not here to fully master or even develop skills in this exercise, only to explain and demonstrate. The student must take his own initiative to develop and understand these skills in his own time. It should be communicated to the student what the overall outcome of this exercise is supposed to be. In this case, I usually brief my students that we are not here to win, but to learn. This specific training exercise is split into two parts, dogfighting and boom and zoom tactics. The first part is comprised of a 3-round duel. The purpose of these duels is to demonstrate and identify all the basic mechanics and skills involved in a dogfight. These skills and mechanics usually include situational awareness, camera control and tracking, basic aerodynamics, basic flight controls, basic gunnery, using altitude and airspeed. Depending on the skill level of the student, it is possible to teach and demonstrate more advanced maneuvers and concepts at this early stage of the training. However, it is up to the instructor to determine how far he should delve into the theory according to his judgment on the student's skill level and understanding. After these 3 rounds are complete, both instructor and student should review the fights using the replay feature. During these replays, it is up to the instructor to explain what happened during the fights and why. The second part of the training is comprised of several rounds of practicing boom and zoom technique. Usually it is prudent to have the student practice both executing a boom and zoom attack as well as defend from a boom and zoom attack. In this specific training session, we only did the former due to time constraints. As the instructor, you should take the initiative to try as many different maneuvers as possible. Remember, you are not here to win but to teach. This sometimes means taking the least effective tactics in order to expose the student to the chaos of aerial combat.
Just
Not bad.
Alright.
Alright, good game. Okay, bye. Right. So a lot of people who play the game, they never ever do dueling, and it's always important because the first time that I tried to teach people, the first thing everyone says to me is that there's no way you can win because if you play the same aircraft, there's no way that you can get in behind each other. That's the first time I ever had to teach people. But as you're gonna see here, and I've got some diagrams to show you later, the pilot's decision making, even if you like, you have to be a robot in order for that kind of theory to play out, because there's a million and one things that go into how aircraft maneuver against each other. So, in the first one here, right. So just so I teach you some stuff for the dueling, like I said before, if you ever play in like a tournament play or one of the game modes where they will do every year, you will find people that will try to do maneuvers even before they get into this position. So there'll be some people who try to climb, some people who try to dive, and then they go straight up. Some folks even do weird things where they fly off to the side and whatnot. So those are like special tactics that if you ever get into a situation like that, you're just gonna have to play it out to figure it out. But in this case here, all right. So for this first fight here, what were you thinking as we got into the merge here?
Uh, well, honestly, I didn't think like anything. Just
Okay,
playing out as it goes.
that's perfect. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly normal. So for someone like me, right? I usually have some kind of initial plan of what I want to do for the first merge. Because at this point in the game, right, is more like chess. The first few seconds is basically like chess. So in this case here, usually if I'm flying an American aircraft, what I want to do is I want to go into a vertical maneuver of some kind. And then I pick either I want to turn to the left, which in this case would mean turning into you, or turn to the right. So these are like some of the decisions that usually you want to have some kind of plan of like what it is you want to do. And then after that, you can play it out after that. So that's what's usually going through my mind. So in this case, my preference is I always turn into the guy. So if we're crossing on our left side here, then I want to turn left to turn into you. There are some people who do the opposite and they want to turn away. I'll explain what the differences are between that after we go through all the footage because that one's a little bit more complex. But my always go-to is always go into the vertical here. Um, are you familiar with the egg? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay, let me bring up the picture of that. See this slide?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it's not the best diagram I have. I actually have one that's slightly better, but I don't have it with me right here. But basically, what it demonstrates is the three-dimensional planes of motion when you have an aircraft flying around. So you have the normal forces, let's assume this triangle is a plane. You have the four basic forces that act upon it. So you have gravity that pulls the aircraft down. You have the thrust from the engine that pushes it forward. Then you have the drag from the
Yeah.
friction created by air, and then you have the lift created by the wing. So what happens here is that when you take into account the z-axis, so the vertical plane of motion, uh, if you do a vertical maneuver, what happens is that when the plane inverts, both your lift and gravity starts working together. So it's not linear. Some people have problem trying to like see this, visualize it. I had a lot of problem the first time I tried teaching people. People think that the aircraft actually like flies in a complete, uniform circle, no matter which plane of motion it is, which isn't true. Even if you play arcade, the arcade game mode, even though the flight model is simplified, this still principle still applies. So usually, when you get into the first merge like that against a plane that's exactly the same in terms of airframe wise, this is something you can always use to your advantage. If once you go into the vertical, you can
You get
use
a tighter maneuver anyway, yeah.
yes, yes. compared to someone that goes into a dive, you will be able to pull more angles on him eventually. You may not get it in the first like turn itself, but if you continue it, you will be able to get more angles and you will be able to get in behind him. So yeah, okay. Any questions about this part so far?
No, but it's useful. Useful stuff because I never really thought about that.
So yeah, as you can see, even though it's just like two of the exact same planes going up against each other in like a static environment, there's like a million and one things that can you can start thinking about before even the fight begins. Okay, so yeah, I go up into the vertical here, start turning in like that. So you elected to go into you are actually making a slight vertical maneuver, but you can see here if we see into the diagram, you've elected to go slightly more horizontal than vertical. And about here, you can already see that, yeah, I've already got angles on you, whereas you're still trying to get into my turn here. So you continue into your vertical turn. I mean, not your horizontal turn, sorry. I continue into my vertical maneuver. So you'll see me do this quite a lot, even in like the normal matches. You always see me use the vertical plane of motion a lot more than the horizontal, especially when flying American aircraft. And you can see right about here, I'm almost 90 degrees onto you right here. So in 2 turns, I've basically almost gotten in right behind you. Oops, that's the... Okay. And then from this point on, it's just going to be you trying to shake me off from behind. It's really difficult once you're in this position. It's not impossible.
Yeah, I'm just trying to outrun you, but there's like...
I think, oh yeah, I lit you on fire in that shot there. So that's the end of that one. Okay. All right. Okay, so we both elect to go vertical. I'm still turning into you, so I'm turning to the left.
In this match, I was like thinking about mirroring what you're doing and trying to see how that plays for me.
It did very well. Now here, what happens is that I make a mistake. So this is where your airspeed comes into play. So during the first initial merge, we're both going at around like 500 kph or so. So when you're at that amount of speed, especially for this specific airplane, if you try to do vertical maneuvers, you have quite a lot of energy. And for the 51 particular, when it goes into vertical maneuvers, it retains its energy. In this case, we're going to be talking about speed. It retains it quite well. However, once you get to about 250 kph, which was what happened when I started this maneuver here, that all goes out the window. The Mustang has very, very poor low speed flight characteristics. So the way I can explain that is that once you get below 250, the plane actually kind of stops working. It doesn't climb as it should. It doesn't turn as it would. And trying to recover from that position takes quite a long time compared to where if you were above 250, you have some room to maneuver. So this was a big mistake here because once I entered in this turn here, I was about 250, which means you who is still at 300 and you're doing your normal horizontal maneuver, you are actually going to be able to outturn me, if that makes sense. Because compared to the first fight where I went vertical and you stayed in the horizontal plane, I managed to get angles on you. It doesn't work here because I don't have enough energy for this specific plane.
Yeah, you're 200 and you're still not vertical up.
Yeah.
Like, you're stalling out.
Yeah. There are other aircraft which can do what I'm doing here without screwing it up, but the Mustang doesn't work. So you've maintained your speed, you're at 300, you've made one full turn, and I'm still struggling to get in behind you. Actually, you've got angles here, so you take a shot. So you've managed to get good position here. Now I'm trying to recover, so I'm going into the dive now.
And this is about where I fucked up because I thought you will try to do another vertical loop. I've seen your like wing flash below me, so I thought you got like you rolled and you're trying to do a vertical dive. So this is where I start making my turn that is like completely out of the way for the whole engagement. I just completely misread your maneuver, and there you see I get into your path of flight, and from now on I'm like losing my advantage that I had.
Yep.
And now you see I just deliberately get in front of you for you to take the shots. I misread your maneuver, and from now on it goes like fuck off.
So you can see how even like one slight mistake, everything goes out the fucking window.
Yeah, it's completely like cost me the whole engagement. I probably could land like 2-3 more volleys for you if I've continued maneuvering as I should. But I just like get in front of you for you at 0 coast. From now on, it's just the same turn fight where I don't have the angle and you're chasing me, and everything goes to
it's
trash.
over. Yeah, pretty much.
It's over, yeah.
Okay, I'll skip this part. Go after the next one. Okay, so
Well, it was your mistake in the end, not mine.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So this one is quite similar to the very first. You go into a more horizontal than vertical. So I go off up, and then that gives me angles. I think you try something. Oh, I can't really recall what happens here.
I think I tried a vertical loop somewhere.
So both of us are just kind of staying in the horizontal for this one here. I've already got angles from the first move. Yeah, start taking shots. Okay, you try to do a loop over here. Okay, you do a slight barrel roll. Turn in, I get a shot on you. Okay, nothing really intense happens. It's quite similar to the first fight. Yeah, okay. You had a very good dogfight yesterday against the 51D. Do you remember that? The Israeli one? It went on for like 3 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I don't have the footage on me with me now, but you did very good in several maneuvers in what we call as scissors. Actually, let me see if I can find a picture of that. But basically, it's what happens when the two fighters start turning into each other consecutively. So in this case here, it's a horizontal scissors, a flat scissors is what it's called, where each fighter is just trying to get in behind the other by turning into him multiple times. What you got into yesterday was called a rolling scissors, so it's slightly has a vertical element to it, and the way you really want to play it is that you need to use your throttle and your flaps once you get into the vertical element to give you an advantage.
I try to use my throttle. I need to use my flaps more, but I really try to use my throttle if I need to get the falling behind. I try to cut off my throttle on the climb, so I lose more speed.
Yeah.
And try to get in behind.
That's good. That's good. That's the way it should be. For the flaps, the advanced thing that you need to know is that you shouldn't deploy the flaps for an entire turn. I don't know if that makes sense. You want to like use it like the throttle, where it's like in segments. So like if you deploy it for a few seconds and then you retract it. The reason why you want to do that is that because of the way the game is designed. If you keep the flaps deployed for an extended period of time, it actually creates more drag than it should. So it starts to slow you down significantly if you keep it on longer, which isn't really how it should be, but that's just how it works in the game. So if you do use the flaps, you want to use it in like bursts of like 5 seconds or so. At what point you want to use the flaps? Usually I use it when I'm at the top of a turn of a vertical maneuver. That usually gives you a lot more turning angle because you're at the high G maneuver. You're using gravity as well. It gives you like a lot of turning maneuverability. But even if you're in like a horizontal kind of fight, or if you're not in an American aircraft and you're not really playing in the vertical plane of motion, you can always use the flaps. Just don't use it for very long periods of time, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, now we'll just do the last exercise where we'll practice the boom and zoom. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna go back into the same game mode, but what's gonna happen is that you're gonna climb for altitude. So you climb at least an extra 1,500 meters, and then you're gonna practice trying to kill me from having an altitude advantage, and I'm just gonna try and defend myself.
All right, I'm at 3,500.
Okay, now get your speed to like 400 or so, and then when you're ready, let me know.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, you may try an attack.
Yeah, the camera controls, man.
one more time, and then we'll analyze it.
Get ready.
Okay, go.
I just can't stand the camera controls, man. It's just...
It takes time. You know, Pat, he's been playing the game for like, I don't know, 7, 8 years. He's never figured it out.
Because I'm trying to aim at you in vertical and the planes goes everywhere but not the direction I'm supposed to go. So... just... okay.
Did you make sure that it detached from your cursor? Because
it's not consistent. It's not consistently detaching from cursor.
You're gonna have to figure out what the sweet spot is of how to do that reliably. Because when I first did it, I had that problem. It took quite some time. You climb up to altitude, you're getting your speed. Okay, now we begin. All right, so we're in a very good position here. You came in from almost straight vertical and get in slight behind. Yes, yes. You actually get a hit on me right there.
Oh, okay.
So
Good to know.
usually I slightly misplayed it. The idea for the defender in this position is that he should have started diving a little bit earlier. And what we want to do is, you see the difference in speed here. Once the Mustang gets above 550, it suffers from that compression thing that I told you about. It stops maneuvering. That's the trick that the defender wants to do here, because he's still slower. Actually, he's at the perfect speed to do his cornering turns if he wants to. So he can sort of get out of the line of fire very easily. And he tries to bait the attacker into going above the 550 whilst making sure that he's still in the sweet spot, and that'll make it very easy for him to try to get out of the dodge. I didn't quite do it here because I was a little bit late, so you managed to get some hits on me. But eventually around about here, yeah, okay, so you've made your attack, you're now trying to zoom up, and what I'm trying to do here is trying to chase you. So this is what you try to look for in the opponent, is when someone tries to chase you all the way. Now, because I know what I'm doing, the moment I get to around like 300 or 250 or so, I'm going to level off, because I know that if I try to chase you up here, you have all the advantage. You're just going to loop around and then get in on me, and there's nothing much I can do. You do need to be careful, because if you watch Flank, right, he still makes this mistake. When he's trying to zoom away, he will just go in a straight line. And if there's someone like me who is unemployed and knows how to shoot well, the distance the distance that you need to be to reliably like not get hit at all, you need to be like 1.5 or 2 clicks more than that.
I know. If I'm looking, sorry, interrupting you.
No,
if I'm looking at it, he's like 1.15 away. I'm still constantly looking at him and looking at the tracer if he tries to land the shot at me, because I know if I will be flying in the straight line, he will get me sooner or later, because it's totally possible.
Yes.
Like, I did that stuff a few times.
Frank has played the game for years. He still hasn't like quite figured it out. He is even like, I think it was like 2 days ago or so, before you started playing, he got himself killed in some stupid ass way, like this exact position. The way you want to think about it is that once you recognize all the different aircraft and what type of armaments, The 50 caliber machine gun and the 20 mil cannons, they act quite similar. So in the ranges that we've just talked about, it's still very deadly. If you're fighting against something that has like 30 caliber rounds, at this point, the 30 cal can't hurt you at all. It's a trash weapon in the game. That's how it's modeled. But yeah, okay. So yeah, I level off here just before I get to 250. So I don't want to go into you, so I've leveled off to try regain my speed, and I'm just waiting for you to come back in around here. Okay, so now what happens here is what do you recall that happens next here?
Damn, I don't.
Okay, so this is the kind of advanced stuff for the defender. The way that you want to defeat someone that has an altitude advantage is you want to try and close the gap in terms of your energy. In this case, what I'm doing here is I'm baiting you to like give up your energy. I'm not trying I'm not trying to gain more than you. I'm just trying to make you lose yours so that we're equal. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
So I go into a shallow dive here, and you follow me in here. And there's this shallow dive maneuver, which basically is the kind of equalizer. You take quite a lot of shots here. You can see that from where you started all the way up there, okay, the line is gone, but from where you started all the way up there and to where you are now, the altitude difference is like probably, I don't know, 100, 200 meters or so.
Yeah, and we're almost at the same speed now.
Yes, exactly. So if you do the math from that, you can see that the massive energy advantage that you had at the very beginning of this second fight here compared to where we are now, you've basically burned it away. And what happens here is that I level off slightly, so now I'm closing that altitude advantage even closer. Speeds, you have slight speed advantage, but it's not that significant now. And okay, so let me
And
teach
then it
you.
evolves to the turn fight, basically.
Yeah. So how to get out of this position? Basically, what I do is you want to try to get as much speed as you can, and try to get the opponent to also get quite fast, because you're gonna catch up to me eventually, because you still have a slight altitude advantage. You're in a better dive. So once you get to around like one click to about 600 meters, somewhere in that range, that's when you want to start turning into the opponent. If you turn before that or after, is basically too late. If you turn when you're like 1.5 kilometers out or something like that, you basically end up into a 90-degree angle. So you're trying to turn in, but your opponent will still have opportunity to shoot you uh, at a high angle deflection, and then he has the option of either committing with the turn or breaking away. So it's not ideal. And if you try to turn when he's closer than that, you basically have already given him a lot of opportunities to try shoot you, and he's too close to try to do any kind of jinking maneuver. So the sweet spot is around about 600 meters to a click, which is where we are right about now. It's around about this point that you want to start into a turn. So yeah, I commit to the turn there to the right. I go low, you go high. And then here, you try to zoom away, but I've already sort of equalized the energy. So you can't actually quite get away from me here. Take long range shots. Because I'm so slow, there's an idea called nose authority, which is the ability for the aircraft to point the nose around.
Yeah.
For the Mustang, once you get below 250, it's complete trash. It can't really do the job. All I'm trying to do here is trying to scare you into making a mistake. You want to be careful when you're fighting British fighters and Japanese fighters, because they have excellent nose authority all the way down to like 50 kph. Even if they're like at 90 kph, they'll be able to point the nose wherever the hell they want. So yeah, just trying to scare you here. And now you come back down to dive. I've deployed my flaps here all the way in this slight maneuver here. Now, one trick you should know is that if you're doing into a dive kind of fight, right? If it's a rolling scissors going down, or any kind of maneuver that involves you going down with somebody, if you're in this kind of position, it's actually better to have less speed because that way you force the overshoot. Whereas if you were to go up, you want as much speed as possible because you're burning it a lot into going up.
I lost my wings way too many times to not thinking about burning my speed a little bit when I'm going down.
Oh yeah.
Because I know when I'm like way too high up, I'm probably about to lose both of my wings before I even get a shot on the guy.
Yeah. Your vertical maneuver here doesn't work because you didn't have enough speed. It's the same mistake that I did in the second round for the dogfight. So even though you went into vertical, you don't get any angles because of the difference in speed there. And then I managed to slot in behind here. I think you get a couple more turns in before I get guns on you. Yeah. All of these miss. And then you try to run away here, but it's too late now. Okay, you want to be careful when you're doing the jinking maneuvers like this, right? If you do it too erratically, you burn a lot of speed off. Um, in this case, is the right maneuver, but in the event where, like, at the very beginning of this fight, when I'm trying to extend away and I'm dragging you into the lower altitude,
Yeah.
you see the way that I dodge is I look behind, and it's either one or two turns to the left or the right, and that's it. Because that way I still keep a lot more speed as I'm going into that dive. That's just something to keep in mind whenever you're doing any other kind of maneuvers like this. And then I think from here it's just me chasing you until I get close.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that's about it. Okay. All right. Anything you wanna talk about?
Anything I want to talk about? Well, I really didn't see. I need to practice in eyeballing the aircraft speed that is chasing me because at
Yeah.
some points I see I had a huge energy and speed advantage over you, but I didn't use it. I didn't use it because I didn't know it's there.
Right. One trick you can do, right? Uh, once you've locked on to a plane in the match, it will give you the distance to the guy, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna take a lot of time in practice, but the way that I judge, especially when I'm going into a vertical maneuver of some kind, is I look at my speed and then I look at the distance to the enemy and I try to read how fast he is either closing the distance or how fast I'm extending the distance. And you can actually estimate what the speed of the enemy is once you get a feel for the game, once you know how fast you're going and what the difference in distance is extending or increasing or decreasing. That's a trick some of us use. Doesn't work all the time because you're not always going to be in a vertical maneuver, but that's a starting off point if you want to try and read how fast you are compared to the enemy.
All right.
Okay.
What else? I don't know what else to point out at this moment. Honestly, I'm
Uh, the,
trying to get the basics down.
yeah, pretty much. There's a million and one other things that I do actually need to explain, but there's no point because in aerial combat, it's not like tanks or fucking navy. There's only like one or two ways where things can go. There's no point in me trying to tell you everything at this point either. But I think I've given you like enough to work with, so you kind of know like what kind of things you need to develop now if you want to get better at the game. And when I think you're ready, I'll teach you more advanced stuff later on down the line.
What's
You,
by the way, what's about Navy? It's kind of just slugfest. Go there and shoot.
uh, if it's surface combat, that's pretty much about it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.